welcome back. We continue with our news review right here on Power Breakfast on Citizen TV with MPs Chris Wamalwa and Joe Mutambo from Kiminini and Mwingi Central respectively. And during the break we were joined by another panelist, Brian Weke, CEO Institute of Education and Democracy, finally joined us. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning,
traffic problems. I do understand the traffic marshals in Nairobi are still working. And, you know, in Mombasa yesterday they were not on the roads, so there was a bit of a problem. But today in Nairobi they must be working. So we don't understand why.
You know, people
got late.
I know people blame it on traffic.
Yes,
but for sure, this was traffic.
It was traffic.
Yeah.
Okay. So just before the break, and I want to give you a chance to, because this is the biggest headline of the day. Before the break, we were discussing the spat between the president and the governor from Mombasa, because it's something that has been going on and on for a while. And of course, you know the events of yesterday. What do you make of that?
I think how the presidential team acted is not only juvenile, but it actually subverts the law. If you look at the constitution that was promulgated in 2010, we created two levels of government, national and county government. I think to refuse and to choose to refuse that a sitting governor should not attend a presidential function is unconstitutional, at the very least. Because really, that is the governor of Mombasa. And if you again read the constitution, the president should be a symbol of unity. He should not be used to divide Kenyans. So that, for me, is a very worrying trend in this country. Because that is an elected leader. That is the governor of Mombasa. So
yet because they come from different political sides, we could call them rival political factions. Surely, should the president just allow anyone who wants to challenge him to his face to continue doing so?
Fred, it does not matter. Even today, if the president was to go to Joe Mutambo's constituency or Chris Wamalwa, protocol demands that he extends invitation. And I saw the other time the president and the deputy was in Wamalwa's area, and Wamalwa spoke so well on certain instances where the government has done well. But where the government has not done well, it is only fair that you allow individuals to criticize. And this is an open platform. Once somebody criticizes, the people will know and choose, and they say that person is not telling the truth, this other person is telling the truth. For the president to choose who comes to his function, the president is the president of the Republic of Kenya. He is not just an individual. And we have to accord respect to that particular office.
And I quote the standard here, I think quoting the president as well. If it's my function, I reserve the right of admission to anyone.
The president does not have a function. Unless he is an individual, he is the president of the Republic of Kenya. He needs to smell the coffee. He is not just any other person. He's not you. It is not me. I choose who comes to my function. You choose who comes to your function. But you cannot say as the president, I reserve to choose who comes to my function. He does not have any function. He is the president for the Republic of Kenya. He needs to smell the coffee. He is our president. Your president. Wamalwa's president. We love him as our president. We will attend all the functions that he chooses to call for.
Whether he likes it or not.
Whether he likes it or not, he is the president of our
Brian Weke is a person I know very well, and I know why he's late actually. You know, he's newly wedded, so that's why he's late. And he's just waking up.
Newly wedded.
On a light note.
On a light note, yes.
I mean, as much as we want to respect, and as much as we respect, not actually as we want, as much as we respect the Constitution, right? It should be two-sided. It is not only the president to respect the Constitution, and then I'm talking, and the rest do not, all right? I will not, let me tell you, Brian, I will not allow any individual for that matter, whether you are elected or not elected, to come and start bringing whatever, what is not right, into my meeting. This was presidential function. It is a presidential function, period. And Governor Joe had and ought to respect that.
Yes.
The moment you say, I'm going to seize that opportunity now and to tell you, and actually he had preempted that he was going there to say this and this, whatever the president said was not right. He had all the right and it's time to do it at its own forum. Why do you want to wait for my meeting to come and tell me?
Because Brian Weke, you base your argument. You base your argument on the Constitution, but doesn't the law also protect the dignity of the president? That he should not be open to disrespect or to public disrepute or public provocation as well.
Let's be honest, Fred.
Remember, Governor Joho had already indicated what his intention was in attending that event.
No, you know, Fred, let's be very honest. You had Governor Joho saying they paved the way to the Mtongwe ferry. He's around 1 kilometer of road. They put street lighting. The president was going to open a public project where they have.
It is not a choice project.
Can you protect me from Zio Mutambo? The president does not have any project, and let's agree. You know, sometimes.
Neither Joe.
Absolutely, it is the people's project.
Yes.
It is the public.
Because he did it with the public money.
So absolutely, both of them did it with public money, and that is the reason why you cannot choose, because you both use public money to do this project. Then it is only fair to allow. I'm coming back to your issue. To allow the governor of Mombasa. And by the way, I have listened to places where Joe has shared a platform with the president. He has only challenged certain things that are happening within the county in a very respectful manner. Now look at what Nanok said in Turkana. What wrong did he do? There was a first bill that parliamentarians passed and allocated 10% to the local community. What did the president do? The president said no, this is not within the spirit of the constitution, change this to 5%. And that is what Nanok said to the people of Turkana, that the initial bill provided for 10%. The president refused to sign and told parliamentarians to go and rethink and align it to the constitution. Then it was reduced to 5%. Now, if you looked at Nanok, how he spoke, did he bring ridicule to the presidency? Absolutely not. Did he speak badly on the president? Absolutely not. It is the president who promulgated that law. So, you guys, there is nothing wrong with being criticized. And that is what makes a better leader. Absolutely. You are criticized and you say, here I went wrong.
To your face?
Absolutely. Yeah. Who are you? Excuse me.
No,
you are talking about the president. Absolutely. That is the presidency. And the presidency has, you know, when a king is naked, the king is naked. Read the Bible. You cannot continue cheering the king and the king is naked. The president advisors ought to listen to those criticisms and you respond to it.
Is that the only way of communicating criticism to the presidency?
You know,
even by the governors, is that the best way that they can, that Governor Joho or Governor Nanok, regardless of how right they may be in their criticism, is that the best way to address the president?
You know, Fred, we have grown in terms of our democratic space. As a country, we voted for the new constitution, and the new constitution came up with certain things, and one of those things is free speech, freedom of expression. And by the way, if and when a governor speaks badly to the president, we will raise it. But I can tell you for a fact, at no time, because I've been following these public debates, Governor Joe has been very respectful to the president, but criticizing in a very respectful manner. So, really, you know, if there is a problem with the president, we ought to bring it out. And I think he is a symbol of unity, and that is provided for in the constitution. He is the one who needs to bring people together, regardless of whether you are a governor or you are a watchman, whether you are a driver or a senator, whether you are a member of parliament or just a guy on the street.
Now, gentlemen, I want us to move on from that story, because we've really spent time on it. It is one of the biggest, if not the biggest headline of the day. The other big headline is on the Standard, and it talks about NASA being left with only one option in choosing their one joint candidate. Now, the National Super Alliance Technical Committee tasked with picking a joint presidential candidate is today expected to recommend that the process should be subjected to a popular vote by supporters. This would involve party primaries as happens in the United States. That is on the front page of the Daily Nation. Is this accurate? Because I know, Bwana Wamalwa, you're part of that team. Is this accurate?
Now, it is true, I'm part of that team, and what I want to say is this is misleading. We just filed our nomination rules with the IBC. This is about a week ago. And when you look at the methodologies that you're going to use when it comes to nominations, joint nomination, of course, is one of them. We have the electoral college, we have the primaries, and we also have direct. If in an area which is a red zone, for instance, for NASA,
yes,
and we have only maybe one candidate, I mean, our rules allow us to give that particular person direct ticket. Now, when it comes to this, we're not yet there. These are the speculations. These are the propaganda being spread by our enemies, the people of Jubilee. We've not mentioned anywhere, and I speak with authority because I sit in that committee. These just are rumors. So I'm telling Kenyans out there to ignore these rumors, because as NASA, we are smelling victory. And this is an indicator that Jubilee is panicking. By August, it is packing up, going home. We are mean business. It's true, we're meeting, but we're not yet there.
Yes.
So I'm telling you guys, just be patient. We're going to have a flag bearer with his deputy that is going to send Jubilee home. And that is going to be within the timelines of IBC.
Are you meeting today?
I don't want to say that. Say yes or no. I mean, because our meetings are private and we're in strategy meetings, I'll not say whether true or false or the venue, I'll not say that.
Are you 80% done in terms of picking the candidate? Are you 90% done in terms of picking the candidate? Are you 10% done?
You know, in the NASA coalition, we had some specific milestones. First and foremost, which was critical, it was to legalize NASA. And that we've already done, the register of political parties, we've already done the agreement, everything. Second milestone we are supposed to have done, and we already done, is about the IBC timelines in terms of giving out the nomination rules. We've also done that. Our final one is now getting the flag bearer.
Yes.
So please, it's a process.
How far are you?
It's a process, not an event. I should say, like, we are done, let me say, about, we're almost there. Maybe give us about, by end of this month or early next month, we should be having a flag bearer.
So you're about 80% done?
No, I don't want to commit myself on the percentage. Yeah, please. But everything is in the process is going on well. We are in line with the IBC timelines. There's nothing to worry about. So God willing, by end of this month or early next month, we should be having a flag bearer.
Bwana Mutambu appears to be tickled by what you're saying. What is so interesting?
You see, actually listening to Amalo, and if actually sees in this NASA thing, I don't know if it's NASA or NASA or whatever it is, you get worried. He said that he's getting worried that President Uhuru the temperatures are rising too high and it's very dangerous for the country. But actually, this is
so you're confirming, yeah?
I'm saying you said. This is the problem for our country. You see, NASA, they have taken themselves as a club, right? A club of individuals. Little do they forget that whatever they are discussing, whatever they are doing, they want to do it for the nation. If they win the presidency, or if they take the government, I mean, it's about Kenyans. It's not about 2, 3, 4, 5 people in a corner somewhere. And when Wamala tells you that whatever, I mean, is being said here is misleading, this information did not come from media. They know where it came from.
It came from
actually, I could listen to him answering your question, and he was affirming them in a very clever way. When you ask him, are you 80%? He did not want to say yes, because that would confirm what is written here. But he knows that is the truth. Another thing, whatever the process is being taken and what we are reading today, when they say that this is the method they are going to use,
I would want to ask myself, in a democratic space, what is the best way for choosing a candidate? Yes. You would also want to choose a candidate who is popular to people. And if the technical team comes up with this solution and say, we are going to go the popular way, then that is the democratic way.
You know, you were not listening. I mentioned that it is one of the options we have.
No, you did not say. You said it's a propaganda. Now you are admitting. Now you are admitting. You said it was a propaganda. Let me say it's not.
I said when we file our nomination rules, the methodologies we are going to use, there were 4. The joint nomination is one of them. The electoral college, the directs, and the party, the primaries. I mentioned all that. Yes. You are not listening.
Okay. You see, what you are trying to afford, Mr. Armando, is the truth that NASA is confused. And they don't know how to get a candidate.
Let's rope in Bwanaweke in this. Now, if at all this headline is true, and I have no reason to doubt the media, because I know the headlines then don't just come from nowhere. I work in the media, and if you see these headlines, then there's some level of truth to it. Yes? If at all this is the way that NASA chooses to go, looking at it in the same vein with regard to this latest poll by Infotrack, which was released last week, in the popularity of the candidates, the 4 gentlemen at the helm of NASA, is indeed then a giveaway that the most popular candidate will therefore be the presidential flag bearer for NASA, and that is what Bwana does not want to admit.
Even just before I move to that, there are 2 questions which this headline raises. The issue of joint nominations, for me, and now that Wamalwa is here, is not a question of whether. It is a question of how. If you look at the last election, Raila won in Raila and Kalonzo ticket, and the Code Brigade won in 153 constituencies. Uhuru Kenyatta won only in 135 constituencies. Musalia Mudavadi won in 2. Now, out of the 153 that the Code Brigade won, they lost 46 of those seats because of the fact that they were not organized as regards nominations. Now, even if they would have won the presidency, ruling the country would be a tall order because of the fact that there was no organization. So I want to urge Wamalwa, who is my brother and who sits in that committee, to think through it critically, because again, you will focus more on winning the presidency and losing certain instruments for running the country. So the question can never be whether. The question is how. Because if you're organized, then they ought to have delivered the 100.
You think that even in terms of choosing the presidential flag bearer, this is the only way? In terms of joint nominations,
yes.
There are no 2 ways about it.
Yes,
that has to happen. There are places where, of course, it is. It does not matter. Party primaries where supporters come and vote.
You see, there are 2 levels. There's a levels where you choose candidates for different seats.
No, we're talking about the presidential flag bearer.
I'm coming back to that. I just want to bring out a very fundamental issue. There are places where, of course, it is a NASA zone. Regardless of who you present, NASA will come in. But there are certain cosmopolitan areas and swing areas where they have to deliver the seat. Do you know Raila won in Narok in terms of the popular vote, and they never got a single member of parliament? Why? Because of poor organization. So that needs to be dealt with. Number 2, if you listen to the polls that are coming out, nearly 19% of Kenyans are not decided of who they will vote for president. Out of that 19, the NASA brigade controls majority, meaning there is a lot of expectations within different areas. The likes of Akina Mutambo have sent serious propaganda on the ground that if it is not Kalonzo, then things will not be rosy.
The likes of Wamala.
Can you allow me? I am the one on the floor. So there is a lot of expectations that everybody wants their candidates to be the flag bearer. Now the task Wamalwas have is not only to choose a presidential candidate, it's also to agree on a formula that will allow Kenyans to coalesce on that candidate. And I can tell you for a fact, the direct nomination business will not work. It has to be seen to be a competitive process, where people say we ran a good race and lost.
And when you say competitive, how many options?
No, let me clarify, Brian. You know, when we talk of direct nomination, for instance, let's say red zone like Murang'a, and maybe you only have one person who wants to run on the NASA coalition, it goes without saying that particular person will be given direct nomination. So it does not mean it's blanket everywhere. You know, there's the element of mapping, and depending on which county do you come from, which constituency you come from, there are areas which are battlegrounds and areas which are safe. Areas which are safe, that are NASA zones, we can allow 2 or 3 candidates to go, you know, for the nomination or whatever it is. So whoever wins will still be in NASA. And but battlegrounds, for us to have a competitive edge over Jubilee, obviously, will not allow.
And the issue, of whether or not NASA should go for joint nominations or individual, the parties go individually, is a big issue. But it's not the headline we're discussing today. Gentlemen, you're diverting the story.
Today's headline is going for, and I corrected, if you listen, joint. NASA left with one option on joint candidate. This is for presidency. This is as per the headline. And I say this headline is misleading. We also have another methodology of consensus. And as a matter of fact, now, consensus has more merits than demerits. If the 4 principals come together and they say, we think this pair, this is going to be the flag bearer, this is going to be the true consensus.
When Aweke says it has to be a competitive process.
Yeah, let me
but even that one is competitive.
Let me be honest with you. In 2007, when Raila ran against Mudavadi and Balala and William Ruto, there was consensus. Pre going to Kasarani. So, and I would want to agree with Wamalwa that yes, you can come up with a consensus, but for people to believe that their candidate, you know, there's a lot of expectations. The people in Bungoma believe that Wetangula should be the candidate. If you go to Vihiga and other parts, they believe that Mudavadi is the candidate. And I was with some of them. If you go to Raila's strongholds, they believe that Raila is the best placed person to win this election. If you go to the area where Mutambe comes from, they have really sent propaganda. And they are saying if it is not Kalonzo, and this is why we have preliminary moved away, because we are seeing clearly it is not Kalonzo. So again, even if you choose consensus, how you communicate it to the people is extremely important. And you cannot say that there is consensus that it is Wamalwa. You have to create a perception, because politics is purely about perception.
So even if they agree,
and what you're proposing here is actually the best way to go, where you look like there is
no,
it is a PR process. You can have consensus and present it in a different way.
And by the way, when it comes to consensus, you don't just there are some criteria you must look at. You must look at the merits and the demerits of each candidate.
So
in terms of network, in terms of
popularity, that we could be entertained to
I'm ruling out the joints.
We could be entertained to a nomination process of party primaries. But just for the sake of it, that probably you will have already agreed in the boardroom, but there'll just be a process.
I want to tell you this, listen carefully. We are not going to have joint primaries when it comes to presidency. Looking at also the time frame.
You can do.
I said, you know, you're not listening. You know, when you come and you have your own perceived mindset, whatever I say, but not agree. You know, you have a mindset, you're following this. I said it clearly. NASA left with one option of joint candidate for presidency. I said it is wrong, because in line with the IBC, whatever we had presented, we have 4 options. And let me repeat and listen carefully. Joint is one of them. We have consensus, the second one. We have the electoral college, that one, and we have the one for primaries. So listen. So listen. You know, you're not listening. Those are the 4 methodologies
I don't know
that we can be able to use.
You know,
but now, when we go to the presidency, you know, when you talk of this, you must look also at the time frame, what you are left as by the IBC timelines. Okay? The IBC timelines. When you start going through all rounds of those, we might not be able to make it. So the highest probability of the methodology you're going to use, most likely, it might be consensus. And when it comes to consensus, you don't just wake up and decide. You must look at the criteria. You look at an individual candidate in terms of popularity, in terms of networks, all sorts of things are also considered. And as Brian Weke puts it, you come and present that these are the things we looked at, and this is how we arrived at this.
You said I was not listening. Now I'm listening.
Now you've listened.
So clearly what I'm getting from you is that in as far as picking the presidential flag bearer for NASA, joint primaries will not be there. You've ruled it out.
I cannot roll it out. What the problem we have? The problem we have is timing. No, timing. When you start joint primaries, when you want joint primaries, the time frame that we have. Please look at the US when they use this. You must start early enough. The time we have, we need to allow.
Without due respect, Wamala has spoken for almost 5-3 minutes. But I can tell you, I do not understand what he's saying. I cannot understand, and I don't think there's anybody who is understanding. Maybe the cameraman understands. But for me, I don't understand what he's talking about. Because he's going around the circle. Okay? You're asking him the one simple question, he cannot answer. He goes around, he goes up to Lily, comes back here. Tells us nothing. The point has been put very clearly by Brian. Right? That if you go this way, this is what is going to, or this is what might happen. And truly, that is what will happen. If they go in the room there, and that's why I said, this is not a club of 2-3 people. This is about the entire nation. So if we say these guys, they're going to lock themselves in there and come and say, it's so, I will tell you, you will see a report. On the other areas. And that's why they need to be very careful. And if they need my hand device, which I'm ready to give them for free, if they go by this, could be the best way for NASA. Why? Because now Kenyans, and I'm talking about Kenyans, because they expect to be elected by Kenyans. They will come and say, okay, we fought a nice fight, we lost it, so let us support one of our own. But the moment you go out there and make a choice for me, then somebody out there, they will report. And it is not, I want to tell Weke, it is not a propaganda, it's a reality. That when you go in there and say this is the candidate, I'll tell you from Ogambani will say no, from this other area they will say no, from they will say no, and that is the fact.
Yes, I want to make it clear.
Yes,
we are telling the Kenyans to wait. But what I had said is this. Yes. This is misleading because you only left with one option. That's not the case. Just hold your horses.
But it is part of the options.
It is part of the options.
Okay.
As per the
actually, it is part of. If you listen to Chris Omalo, they have provided 4 options, and out of those 4 options, 3 of them involves this. So it's not far from the truth.
So the headline is not far from.
It's not far from the truth. And if you listen to Wamalwa, he is telling you very clearly and succinctly that there are 4 options. But the 3 options is more or less what is being said here. Now let me also tell you, because you have to be politically astute to listen to Wamalwa. What is happening? And you know, I've been hearing a lot of propaganda. These guys have already agreed and they are set. The question is, how do you present this to the Kenyan people so that you retain the entire stronghold? You know, in politics, you do not look at what Wamalwa says. Look at what is not saying. This thing, they've already agreed. The question is, how do we present it in a brilliant manner? So because perceptions in politics is everything. And also, these narratives that are being sent all over, they are aware. And they want to see the best way of ensuring that these narratives are done. If you do calculations of the current opinion polls, and the 19% were the strongholds for NASA, they are converted to a decided vote. Then they have an upper hand.
Gentlemen, allow me to say this.
This is very important.
I want to give you the last opportunity because you're coming to the end of our news review. So when you speak, just know this is your last opportunity. So you can say anything
else. This is what I want to tell Kenya. And going by what Brian has said, Kenyans need to understand there is some lies being cooked somewhere for it to be, for it to be brought to us and presented in a nice way. So that means there is nothing like NASA. I want to tell you this, and I want to say it very free, that there is nothing called NASA, because NASA is not a political party. CORD is not a political party. At the end of the day, if the candidate will be Raila Amolo Odinga, we will vote for ODM. but we will not vote for NASA because you will carry the flag of ODM and the symbol will be orange. If it is Wiper, we will vote for, if it is Kalonzo, we will vote for Wiper, whether you like it or not. And the symbol will be umbrella. If it is, let me finish. I've been told to say what I want to say. 2 minutes.
We don't have too much time.
Yeah, I may not have too much time, but you're eating in it. If it is Wetangula, it will be Ford Kenya and the symbol will be lion. So Kenyans need to understand this thing which is being cooked inside there. And Brian, thank you very much for telling us. You know, I think that's why you are late. You are late. Maybe you are consulting some brilliant people to come and tell us the truth. The truth is there is no NASA. This NASA thing is just something which is hidden somewhere. Okay? And there is no party called NASA. I want to tell Kenyans to be, if you belong to Wiper and you don't want to vote for for ODM, then if you go that direction, you will be voting for a party of not of your choice.
Okay. I want to tell Joe, they should read the Political Parties Act. Whatever he's saying is so new. It's provided for. Maybe he's ignorant about that act. The Political Parties Act has a provision for pre and post. We have not said anywhere that NASA is a political party. No one has said that. And in fact, if you continue shouting such things which are basic info that even people in the village are knowledgeable about, so you tell so much about yourself. So no one has said that NASA is a political party. NASA is a coalition. And in line with the Political Parties Act, there is pre. And that's what we did with the agreement. We've deposited the register of political parties. So whatever you're saying is not new. Kenyans are very intelligent, by the way. So please stop those whatevers of yours.
No,
so what I want to tell the Kenyans, what I want to tell the Kenyans is this: NASA, we are smelling victory, and in NASA, what people are saying, it doesn't. They don't want to know whoever it is, but what they want is to see Jubilee out of power. They want a pair, a president, and the running mate who are going to take Jubilee home. So we are telling you guys, hold your horses. Don't listen to the propaganda of the Jubilee people. People like Joe Mutambo who are not coming back to Parliament. Please, NASA as a coalition.
I wish you had a vote for Mwingi Central. I wish you had a vote
as a coalition.
I have to answer. You don't have a vote for Mwingi Central.
Okay.
So you cannot make a choice for people of Mwingi Central.
You know, NASA as a coalition, everything is in due course. Everything is within the process. The flag bearer is going to be unveiled within the timelines of IBC. It is not late. We are moving out. We are very united. And whoever is going to be the flag bearer is going to take Jubilee home in the morning.
Brian Wicker.
You know, Fred, and I just want to advise my brother Mutambo. You know, as I've told you, Chris and the team, they're also very smart. As I've told you, it looks like they've finalized this thing. Now, the likes of Akina Joe Mutambo, who still have been pushed to think in a certain direction. You know, when you keep on telling the people that there is no NASA, hey, NASA will break. Oh, so and so.
I do not say that.
No, I'm not talking about only you. It's a very dangerous narrative, because once these guys have agreed and they present a candidate, all these stories, and you know, they are putting Jubilee on a different tangent. And I hear the deputy president speaking, I hear the president speaking at, oh, this thing does not have a head. It is a strategy. And it is a very dangerous strategy, because these guys, they have a head and a tail. When NASA is a coalition of the willing, nobody has put a gun to these guys and they say come together. It is out of their own volition. It was a choice. They sat down and said, we are going to create this thing. And it has been created by these guys. It's a coalition of the willing. Now, you know, Joe Mutambo, every Kenyan knows that if you are to join Jubilee, let alone the way you're saying these are 4 people, Jubilee is a coalition of 2 people. And it is a coalition, when you want to join it, you are told, have you read Vision 2030? Because the only way you'll be accommodated is 2032. So, you guys plan well. Akina Wamalu are setting you guys up and you're taking it.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, Brian Wicker, CEO, Institute of Education and Democracy. Chris Wamalu, MP for Kiminini, and Joe Mutambo, MP Mwingi Central, helping us look at the headlines this morning. Remember, Power Breakfast still continues. It is a hashtag to use, hashtag Power Breakfast. We still do have another interview. 2 more interviews, so do stand by for that. Joey Mudengi and Willis Raburu are still here. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. For me, it's good morning.